Welcome to Beyond the Boardroom, the podcast for leaders, change makers, and purpose-driven souls who believe business can be both powerful and human. I'm your host, Jen Demiri, founder of JD Consulting, culture shaper, connection creator, and champion for authentic, connected leadership. Here we go deeper than metrics and meetings. We explore the real stories, raw moments, and bold ideas that shape how we lead and who we become in the process. From workplace culture to conscious strategy, from self-leadership to systems that truly serve, this is where heart meets business. So grab a coffee, take a breath, and join me as we go beyond the boardroom. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm excited to welcome back a powerhouse in the online business world, Sasha Eburne. If you've been here before, you'll know Sasha as a no-nonsense business coach, helping virtual assistants and service providers break free from chaos and step into their CEO era. Through her signature roadmap, Sasha has helped countless women gain clarity, grow with confidence, and scale their businesses to 5-figure months without burning out or building massive teams. She's all about making sustainable scaling simple, helping VAs turn their skills into thriving, high-revenue businesses that support their dream lifestyles. In today's conversation, we're diving into what it really takes to grow and scale a virtual assistant business to 30K plus months while keeping things streamlined and stress-free. We will explore the mindset shift from, in inverted commas, just a VA to CEO, how confidence and strategic positioning play a huge role in attracting premium clients, and why sales doesn't have to feel like selling. So plus, we'll talk about the future of the VA industry and how you can build a business that works for you, not the other way around. Sasha, it's great to have you back. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So I guess it's the second time for you on the podcast. However, for everyone that hasn't listened before, when you first started your VA business, did you ever expect to scale so quickly? And what was the journey like?
Certainly did not. It literally served a purpose to fill a void for having very much not fulfilling jobs, being treated not very well. And it was something I was just going to try. And certainly did not expect to be here, probably coming up to 4th year. And no, it certainly was not the plan. Once I'd kind of realized that I'd stumbled across something and I'd kind of really worked out how it worked, then sure, definitely the sky's the limit and we are flying to the moon and there's huge, big 5-10 year plans for the business. But in the beginning, certainly it was not the plan.
Well, that's great. I mean, if things go quicker than expected, it's always a good sign. So you left your 9-to-5 within 2 weeks and hit 6 figures within 2 years. What were the key decisions that you made that made this all possible?
I think it was just the drive and ambition to actually live life how I wanted to live, not being bound by other people's time. I came from corporate 9-to-5 where you had to ask permission for everything. You had to ask permission to go on holidays and be told, no, it's not a good time. And, just to have the flexibility to go and do life admin in the middle of the day, go and get a mani-pedi, go and get a massage. And I think that what I learned about doing my business was there's certainly so much more to life than going to a job that we're unsatisfied. We're working with people that don't align with us, that, in other words, don't speak our language, and you're having very meaningless conversations in the lunchroom, and it's just all surface level. And I think it's the drive has always just been that I want so much more for my life and my family's life now.
Yeah, great. And like your corporate role was in hospitality. So I think that's where we had a big connection as well, besides the personal development world where we met. And then realized we had certain common ground in the hospitality industry in the past. And I can certainly say doing consulting in hospitality now also allows me a lot more freedom and a lot more of the life admin while still working in an industry that I love and help other people as well find a bit more balance. So I think being out on my own, same as you, was very much a great decision, and still doing things that we love at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's a big thing. And I think there's a lot of us in the 9 to 5, we don't realize that life can actually be different. I think that's the biggest problem is not everyone settles, but if you don't know, you don't know. So they don't know that life could be any different. They don't know that life can be amazing. So it's kind of that stuckness, I think, is probably the real problem.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of us don't really learn what it can be like to be a business owner, because we are just so, we're all shown this is what it should be, a 9 to 5, like after school you study and then you start a job. Not many people learn these days anymore how to start a business. So I think that's where I want to start talking about the juicy stuff, the CEO mindset for virtual assistants. So, as you've been saying, many VAs struggle with the, in inverted commas, just a VA mindset. How can they start seeing themselves as a CEO rather than a freelancer, or even going away from that employee mindset?
Yeah, it's a great question. And what I see is a lot of them start off very similar to me, with the goal is to replace your income. Okay, great. Then they get fully booked. That's sort of the next milestone, the next goal. And then they're like, oh, well, this is all it is. And irrespective of the rate that they get, they still potentially have hit that ceiling. So what I love supporting women to do is, okay, they might have already adopted the business mindset over the employee mindset, but now it's like, how do you actually really get your time freedom back? Because a lot of us jump into, say, freelance work or even being a VA or even a business owner, and then we feel like that we're actually working quite a lot. And though we love it and we thrive for it, it's still that resistance to freedom, which in my eyes, that's what most of us are chasing. Some maybe not, but generally it's the freedom, and it's the freedom to do as you will when you want to. So it's, how do you actually scale a business to get the revenue and the income that you want, desire, and need, as well as still satisfying the work that you're doing. So really it's about, how do you actually step up and be the CEO of your business, put the trust and lean in on teams to support the infrastructure of a scaling business, and be okay that it doesn't have to be you. And that's where I think a lot of them struggle, is they're like, oh, but I'm selling me. How do I then sell it as a business? And it's really like, well, become the CEO, and who is the person that you need to be that has all this success, that has people coming to you. And that's the biggest shift, is you're not selling you, because you're not the business. You're selling a service. And also, I very much what you said in the beginning as well, I don't sell to sell. We're in business to solve problems for people.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be selling. And that's where people get stuck. They're like, I can't sell myself. It's just like, just don't sell. Don't sell. People will come, build relationships, solve problems. People should actually be compelled to buy rather than convinced to buy. And I think that's where the struggle comes from, in terms of unable to sell. So it's really about looking at different processes in terms of tech and automation infrastructure of a team to actually build that business so that you can be the CEO. And what you do with that time is up to you. You might then invest that time back in and create additional revenue stream. You might go and travel the world. It kind of gives you that flexibility and the freedom to do what you want.
Yeah, and I love what you said about that. Not selling yourself or selling. Yes, we are here to solve problems for people, and if they do want their problem solved, they come to us. And yes, I am the face of my business. However, I'm not my business. And it's all, in a way, it's marketing, but on the other hand, yes, of course, there is a connection that people build when they see me talking about what I do. However, again, it's a service or that I'm selling, or a problem that I'm solving for them. And I think one of my favorite examples is that towards the end of last year, I had a connection call with someone, and she is pre-opening a hotel, and didn't know where to start. So she talked to a few different people, And I was the first person that she spoke to. And overall, I asked her what her problems are and how she believes I can help her with that, and so on and so forth. And then I asked her, how many people have you spoken to so far? And she said, you're the first person that I've spoken to. And then I said, okay, what I need you to do is actually speak to other people as well. Yes, they may be more qualified, they may be less qualified. The most important thing is that you can connect to the person that you work with. And that's where I think the genuine connection building in every industry is just so important. And yeah, she then decided to go ahead and work with me after speaking to some others as well. And one of the main points for her was that she felt that she could decide whichever way rather than me trying to push something on her that she maybe didn't want.
Yeah, I think connection is key in anything. People just want to connect with humans.
Yeah.
So be a real person, be authentic, solve their problems. And it is a big deal. They're bringing somebody into their business. Like they've built it from the ground up. It's a big deal. So I think that, we should acknowledge our clients and meet them where they're at and actually just be human and have human interaction conversations, because building connections leads to really successful businesses.
I absolutely agree. Yes. Yeah. So how does stepping into a CEO mindset then impact pricing, your boundaries, and your business growth while still ensuring that there is that connection building?
Yeah, correct. So there's a couple of questions in that, but the first one I want to talk about is pricing, because even when I work with VAs and online service providers in the beginning, I do teach them and coach them to price according to their skill sets and what their time is worth. Because what I've seen is if you wait until that time where you're going to consider yourself the CEO and pricing accordingly, it's going to be too late. You're not going to have the time and the resource to actually step up and scale the business. So I work with clients to at least set the benchmark of minimum $85 per hour, anywhere up into $200 per hour. And there very much has been this shift in the VA industry where it's what is your price? And we're not the sort of industry where you walk into a supermarket and you pull off the cereal packet and it's $8. That's not the type of industry we're in. And I think that there's been a shift, and it's probably on a bigger scale, but how do we work with our clients collaboratively and be that business partner? And really, I now teach moving away from the hourly pricing, because when you offer hourly pricing, they're automatically going to compare it to an employee. And and I know that's very different. It's providing a service. So really providing more that outcome-based driven retainers from the word go. Getting the pricing structure down pat will allow growth to then allow them to step into the CEO. Now, I have just lost your other 2 points that you wanted me to talk to in the question. What were the other 2 points other than pricing?
Yeah, it was the boundaries, how to establish boundaries and then business growth. Yeah.
Great. Boundaries are really all about, I guess, very similar. The pricing will support the boundaries, because once you get the pricing right, you're not going to have the client, who's technically your business partner, they're not your employer, dictating time, dictating when they call you, asking you at 10 o'clock at night to do a presentation. Like, that's not a thing, because you're providing a service and you're providing an outcome-based driven retainer. So that kind of feeds into that. And though it is about actually having a conversation and being real and not having any limiting beliefs come up when you say it, rather than, okay, great, I'll get onto that tomorrow, rather than having the feeling of creating that we have to do it now. And 9 times out of 10, they don't need it now. The question that they actually forget to ask is, great, sure thing, I'll put it on the list. When is the deadline for this task? Yeah. And once you have a real conversation, you can generally avoid those boundaries, as well as, feeling and thinking that you have to do it now, because that's where it comes from, is they assume, oh, they've asked me, so I have to do it now. And then, no, I have no boundaries. So it's kind of this vicious cycle of thoughts and belief and assuming. The other thing in terms of boundaries is really sticking to what you do as a business. So, if you decide that this is your only package and you're going to scale that package, that is your signature offer, what happens is clients come from very much a lack mentality, and they jump on a discovery call with a client. They're like, oh, I just need a few ad hoc hours. And rather than staying firm to be like, well, actually, this is how we work with our clients and this is how we can get the best transformation. Okay, I'll just go and do it for you. Or they drop their rates to suit the client, to get the client, and then it unravels later. So really, in terms of boundaries, it's knowing your business, sticking to them, sticking to the very streamlined offers, because otherwise we're going to end up being the jack of all trades and master of none. We want to really hone in on our expertise, which then will allow us to grow and scale later on with boundaries and do it sustainably and sticking to what serves us to create the business that we want rather than the business that our clients want.
Yeah, that's great. That's some really great advice. And yeah, I think boundaries is the biggest thing. And again, I see it a lot as well, not asking the right questions when it comes to engaging with our clients. I've seen it back in the day as an employee, and my colleagues often not asking the right questions while they were struggling and fumbling around. I had a lot more of a, in inverted commas, relaxed workday by asking the right questions and not trying to cram everything within a particular
Correct.
time frame. So yes, absolutely agree on that. So I guess what I'm curious about is what's one of the most common limiting beliefs that holds a VA back from reaching their higher income months? You did mention freedom earlier. Is that one of them, that they believe they can't have the freedom, or what do you think is the most common limiting belief?
Most common belief is I'm not good enough.
Yeah, right.
They do not believe that they're good enough to do the work, even though they know that they are, and that they do not believe that they're good enough to earn the money that they want to earn to have the freedom life.
Isn't that
So,
interesting?
yeah, it is really interesting. It is what I have seen over the last 4 years. It is the mindset that stops people from growing a business. And this is why mindset is such a big part of what I do, because once they make that shift and step into, it's a bit of a self-trust piece as well. It's so amazing to see how far they can go.
Yeah.
The number one thing that stops somebody from running a business is actually themselves. And it's huge. And do you know what? It actually saddens me because of all this, let's say, societal suggestions or things that are, mainly women, but put them into that box of playing small. And once they can overcome that, they can literally do anything and anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason I said, oh, isn't that interesting? Because I see it in so many industries, not just in the VA area. And even at one point, I had that limiting belief as well, which is a limiting belief from the past. So it's just so interesting that for whatever reason, so many people are stuck in that mindset of not being good enough, and how that can hold someone back. So yeah, I think a lot more people get to learn that they are good enough.
Yeah.
They've always been good enough, and having those conversations, and I even have them in with my clients as well, when it's leadership development or even when it's other parts of the services that I offer. I always have a component of that mindset work in there that helps people realize that they are actually good enough for what they do.
It's so important.
Yeah.
It's really interesting once you get into the psychology that the body is designed to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And though there can be a newfound safe in the new norm and retraining your mind, because at the end of the day, we were all born worthy, and sometime between birth and now, we have lost those things, which then has the body going into that fight or flight to keep us safe. But the more you do the work, you just find a new safe space, being in the abundance of, I am good enough and I can do this and I can make the money that I desire. And there is actually plenty of money to go around.
Absolutely, there is. I agree. Well, while we're talking about money, you've built a high revenue business without a massive team. How did you do it?
Oh, it is, I guess, the $1 million question. I guess I have leveraged in experts and I have invested in experts to show me ways to create income, let's say that are leveraged income, which is, for most people, they call it passive, because it's not it's not passive unless you actually put the marketing and the expenditure and the time and the effort to market the service and the offering. So we have been quite successful in building leveraged income, as well as systems, automations, and also investing in the right teams. And I think early on in the business, I did invest in the wrong teams. So, I've definitely been there. I've made all the mistakes, and I get to share all those mistakes with my clients. And once I've invested in the right teams, invested in their training, it certainly has proved that having the right people in my business has supported us to grow with a very, very, let's call slim team to kind of create new heights. We are slowly but surely rebuilding and growing our team now because we have really, really big dreams and big goals. And it's still, rather than kind of having this little bit of an expert, is having people come on board in a bigger capacity to allow them to grow into the business and kind of feeding them in and plugging them into, that 5-year plan. So that they're not just here for a short time, they're here for a long time, and they'll grow within the business and be trained and kind of morph with the development of the business.
Great. Now, we talked a little bit about sales and strategy and the power of connection already. So many people, as we said, struggle selling without feeling salesy, because what is that missing piece sort of is that actually building connection and being their authentic self. But what are some practical ways for a VA to position themselves as an industry expert without being salesy and building connection?
So it might feel a little uncomfortable in the beginning, but they actually just need to own their expertise. And they just need to talk about it as if it's fact. So be okay with, in society's eyes, talking yourself up a little bit, because the thing is, they'll probably notice the ones that are actually talking about themselves, the ones that are actually showing up and being bold, are the ones that they're the ones that are getting clients. They're the ones that are successful. So it's kind of a get over yourself type of thing, because if you're not talking about it, who are you not serving? What about those people that actually need your help? So one of the biggest things in terms of the I'm not good enough is people are unwilling to show up on social media because they use labels like I'm an introvert, or I'm scared, or I feel like I'm going to be judged. No one's judging. The most commonly watched thing on Instagram right now is actually raw content. People actually just want to get to know the real person inside. So showing up without hair and makeup done and actually just showing their normal life, people actually love that. So we need to retrain it in terms of actually just be you. Tell people what you do, and don't stop telling people what you do, to ensure you're building that connection, because through connection will come clients, will come money, and even just going live, there will be somebody that sees what you're doing and they'll go, oh, actually, I like her. Like, she's my vibe. I get her. I actually need to work with her. So the more and more they put these things in place to be like, no, I couldn't, I'm introverted, and labels and everything, is actually pushing them further and further away from their goals. So it's kind of a like, get over yourself. No one is judging you other than yourself, and do the thing that you need to do. And one thing that I say to my clients is, who is the person that you need to become that has all the success, that isn't worried about what people think, and just become her? Who's the alter ego, and just adopt the personalities of that person and be that person, act like that person, and they'll actually see their entire world just change.
It's to an extent a bit like the fake it till you make it in inverted commas. Without faking it, it's just stepping up into a higher version of yourself. It's stepping up to the future self that you want to be, and just be that, as you said.
It's kind of listening to, like, there's always, and I can guarantee, even the women that are like, oh no, I'm happy with what I've got, I encourage them to actually look within, actually be like, is this actually what I want for the rest of my life? Because I know that it is proven and it is fact that deep down, there is always something inside that is dissatisfied. So where is that dissatisfaction? And know that you're actually the only person that can change that dissatisfaction. And you can only create what you want to.
Sorry. And there's nothing wrong with being happy with what you've got. And there's also everything right with wanting more to what you've got.
Correct. Correct.
I'm happy with what I've got and I still want more.
Yes. We can't forget to the gratitude and the,
Exactly.
reflecting on the past and stopping
Yes.
and smelling the roses.
Yeah.
100%.
And even looking back at where I was 4 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, it's a complete different person, complete different version. And there were times where I wanted what I have now, and now I've got it, and I can still want more. So I think that's really important. Also, what you were saying about getting over yourself and going online and talking about the things that are your expertise. I think there's so many people, yes, that talk about the same thing, and so many people are sort of saying, yeah, but the other person's already saying that, the other person's already doing this, and people get to realize that just because someone else is doing or saying the same thing doesn't mean it will land the same thing the same way. So we both could talk about the same thing pretty much using the exact same words, but for whatever reason it will land with someone more when you say it versus when I say it, or the other way around. So I think it's really important to share your message no matter how many other people already have said or done the same thing.
100% agree.
Yeah, great. Now, how important is networking to connection building and growing it, your VA business?
I think it is, you can't network enough. It's priceless.
Mm.
So one thing that I like to talk about is the power of connection, and even I think it's timeless as well. And I think the more that we don't tell people who we are and what we do, the further away you're going to get from that success. And as an example of that is, why are you not telling people what you're doing, for one? And also, I think there's a lot of assumption into who is our client and who is not our client.
Mm.
So I hear, well, all the people on my Instagram are other VAs. And I'm like, actually, your industry can be your best asset.
Yeah.
They can be your best client. Don't discredit them. One, VAs also need VAs.
Yes, they do.
They do. They can also recommend you. And also, isn't it great to have friends in business that you can actually talk about all your wins and talk about big numbers and things like that, and certain things that you can't talk about maybe with your friends, and you surround yourself with your entrepreneur friends. And in terms of the amount of people that I've now worked with that maybe I haven't even spoken to, 10, 15, 20. I had a new client. We were best friends when we were 18, and we were working and living on site in a hotel. And I think it was like 12 months ago, she became a client of mine. And do you know what that is? It's because of the connection that we have had.
Mm-hmm.
And irrespective of whether we've had a conversation or not, there is a connection in terms of we had a relationship.
Yeah.
And even I've had people from the hospitality industry that have seen what I've done and that have come across. And they might have seen something on my even personal Facebook or my LinkedIn or wherever it might be. But because of the relationship that I've built with them at that moment in time is the reason that they're working with me now.
Yeah.
So I think it's, keep talking to people, keep building connections, surround yourself with other women. And it's the old saying, your net worth is your network.
Correct.
And you become the 5 people that you hang around.
Yeah.
So have a good look at who you're hanging around. And if you're hanging around with friends that are depressive, that they're always broke, they're always canceling at the last minute, have a look at that and decide, who do you actually want to hang around with? Because if you hang around with people more successful than you, you're going to become like them. It's a fact. It's a science. So surround yourself with the right people that are going to lift you up rather than bring you down.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Absolutely. So thanks for sharing that. Now, you build a business that allows you flexibility. And of course, you probably have a few secrets, some secrets that may not be that secret. And if there is a secret that you're willing to share, what would it be?
I'm an open book, so you can ask me anything. So in terms of allowing myself to have the flexibility, it's also about noticing where can you buy back some of your time. And
Mhm.
I think that's where it is. And especially stepping into becoming a CEO, we can't do everything. And there is this big perception out there of, oh, that's a bit bougie. And though I call it strategy, and I'm just like, it's actually smart. So sending your laundry out or getting a cleaner, like for a lot of people, they'll see that and they'll be like, that's bougie. But it's just like, one, those tasks don't light me up at all. And I can make more money in my business doing what I love than doing the washing or doing the cleaning. And I'm going to take it a next step further because the amount of growth that we're having. And again, people might say this is bougie, but rather than outsourcing in your business, which is kind of the first go to, I've now hired a personal assistant that actually helps me with me
Mm.
because I'm a solo mom. I run two businesses. Life can get really busy, and I'm done using time for an excuse. Whilst it might see that we do. We have the flexibility. I do what I want when I want. I want so much more freedom.
Yeah.
I want so much more freedom. So she actually now runs my life. And
Mm.
when you go and add on normal life stuff like moving house, I mean, you've just done it. You know how much stuff you need to do with moving the house. Booking the removalist, the change of addresses, the connections. She's literally going to do all that for us. And I'm like, if you think about the amount of time that you do running the household and running your business, it could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 15 hours that I could actually be putting in to the business.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get into stereotypical male female, but it is normal. It is very normal and very prominent that the female takes that ownership of running the household.
Yeah.
And especially with families that have kids as well, like both parents will work, yet the mom will still do the dinner and still do the cleaning and still do the bills. And there's just so much more as a female that we take on. And sometimes we feel like that's our job. And though I encourage all women to actually look at how much they do in their life that is technically what we call unpaid work.
Yeah.
How could you then outsource it to somebody and then allow you to invest back in your business and do what lights you up? And that's what I've recently done. So we're about to see the flow-on effects for it to really create so much more freedom back to have that flexibility. So there are a couple of secrets, but any others, I'm an open book. Feel free to ask any further questions because I honestly want every woman to have the flexibility and freedom that I do.
Well, first of all, congratulations on hiring your first PA.
Thank you.
And I love that you mentioned that because I literally on Sunday had that conversation with one of my clients. She was sort of saying, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and my house is a mess and I don't know what to do. And I said, you're great at outsourcing, aren't you? She said, yes. And I, well, what about a cleaner? She said, oh, I never thought about that. I never thought that that's something I could do. And I said, yes, of course. How much money can you make in the time that you have a cleaner come through the house versus the expense or the investment for that cleaner? I consider it an investment rather than expense. But yeah, the amount of money that you can make versus that investment, it just outweighs it and it becomes a no-brainer. So it was on her to-do list for this week to get a cleaner, and she's already speaking to a few. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's great. So I'm a big believer in that. I'm not quite there yet for the PA, but I'm working towards that. So what I'm curious is so if you had to start over today, is there anything that you would do differently?
Absolutely. I would hire a coach quicker.
Mm-hmm.
It took me, I think there was more than a year. I started with working with my first coach a year after I started because I couldn't break through the revenue ceiling of 10K months. Yeah. So that's when I started, whereas I would have done it sooner. And also I didn't know what a business coach was when I started. So that, when you don't know, you don't know. And knowing what I know now is work with the people that have done what you have done, that have tried and tested it and learned from their mistakes. Whereas, I went through that first, 8 to 10 months of trial and error to get to where I was, which was still successful. It just took longer.
Yeah.
And now that I've really worked out the value of time, it's not about taking a shortcut. It's just about investing in the experts to show you the way because they've done it. So that's what I would do. I would also hire before I was ready because I've been very much in the past waiting until I was ready. And I think a lot of us do that in business. They're like, oh, I need my first client before I can increase my rates, or I'm not going to hire that person until I'm earning this. And actually realizing what you could create and what time and space you can create by doing things reverse. So that, I think that's the biggest thing, is do things before you're ready and don't look for, it's kind of like the, oh, I'm going to start my diet on Monday, that excuse that the whole world has.
Yeah.
Is start today and take action today, because your future self will thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love that. That's really great. Really great advice. So what trends do you currently see in the VA industry right now?
I see very much a change and a shift into being niche in terms of your expertise and really honing in on that. And that's where I'm seeing a lot of my clients have success. Once they work out what their zone of genius is and just amplify it and do the one thing, one package, huge, simple, simple, simple. And actually that is my word for this year, is simplicity. And I think that it's still a long way to go. I think that a lot more businesses are noticing that if you want an expert, you pay for an expert.
Yeah.
But still a long way to go, but it's starting to get traction. That they're like, oh, yeah, paying $10 an hour doesn't get me what I need to do, whereas I need to pay for a strategic partner to actually grow my business. And it's not, if you pay peanuts, you get peanuts. If you want to grow, if you're really serious about business, then pay for the expert to support you, the experts to support you to get there.
Yeah, great. And why do you believe now is the best time for someone to start or scale a VA business?
Well, I mean, I think at any time is as good as any. But what I do see is, and I don't watch the news, but I do see snippets of it, is there is a lot of complaints about cost of living and things going up. And rather than sitting there and just, speaking negatively about the government and blaming other people, is just change it.
Yeah.
Just change it. Go and start your business. Go and learn that you're good enough, and go and make the money that you need to, so you don't have to complain about the rising cost of living. Because if you rise above it and you lead from an abundant mindset, it won't affect you. And you'll be like, oh, that's just normal. That's just life. It'll go up. And though, if you're talking about inflation and the media and cost of living, is you just go and earn more money.
Yep.
So don't make sacrifices in your life to succumb to that. Is just go and actually earn more money and create the life that you want to create.
Yeah. And I think cost of living has always gone up, ever since.
So do you think?
Ever since. Long before I was born, cost of living has gone up.
Exactly.
And I literally had that conversation yesterday as well with someone in my network here in Adelaide, where we were having a conversation, and she spoke to someone, and the person threw at her face, well, you were lucky, you were able to buy a house. My generation will never be able to buy a house. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, what if you could? What if you could actually, rather than scrolling on your phone all day, do something that can get you some extra income, or shift the way you work and have some income coming in to rise above that. So yeah, and starting a business, and if it is a VA business, why not start now?
Correct. I hear that all the time. I mean, if I can get a house on my own as a single parent, a solo parent with a dependent child, in a low 9-to-5 role, then I believe that anybody can do it, because my house came before my business. So if I can do that before I've even gone and created the wealth, then somebody can also do that by creating the wealth. Absolutely. We've just bought our second property because I've been able to make the means and ends to do that. But, I had all the odds stacked against me. I had 2 mortgage brokers when we bought this house saying it's not going to happen. When there's, there's so many different ways that you can do things. And I think stop taking no for an answer and actually find other ways. Like literally I could have stopped and be like, oh, well, I guess I'm never going to have a house.
Yeah.
No, I just kept on fighting and fighting. And I found the right mortgage broker and he literally got it. And he got 5 of my other friends, half of them also solo parents that, they also got houses. So there is definitely more ways to do one thing, which I think is really important to think of. And that's, really coming from that abundant mindset.
Yeah. Great. I will ask you for that mortgage broker's details offline.
Yeah. Go for it. I'll shout him from the rooftops. He's helped us with our second property as well.
Now, I've really loved the conversation so far. Just one more question, or maybe 2. If listeners take away just one lesson from this conversation, what do you hope it is?
The one thing I want them to take away is that just do the thing that they want to do.
Great.
And know that there are other people out there that are here and ready to support them, and just go and make friends with the people that you want to be friends with. So you don't have to do it scared, or just do it scared, and just know that there's people out there to support you and hold you in that time.
Great. I think I don't want to ask another question.
Okay, great. I feel really complete. I felt like that was the best question to end on.
Wonderful. Great. Well, Sasha, thank you once again for being back. And I hope we can have more and more conversations in the future as well. I believe all the listeners will get so much out of this conversation. So thank you. And I will pop all your details in the show notes. So if anyone is interested in starting or scaling their VA business, or even has other questions for you, I'll pop all your details in the show notes. And I'm looking forward to having another chat offline soon.
Amazing. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Beyond the Boardroom. I'm truly grateful to have you here. So if today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love for you to follow the show, leave a review, or share it with someone who'd find it valuable. Your support helps us spread the message of purposeful, connected leadership even further. So until next time, take care, stay curious, and lead with heart.